When I was 16, 17, I was introverted as fuck. And then I got drunk once when I was 19 and became a social butterfly. So that was a tweet that you wrote about a month ago. And let's say I'm a researcher, researching you back at that time of your life. Would there be anything unusual that I would have noticed about you?
Back then, bro, honestly, I was just a dumbass. Like, I think the one word that can describe it is dumbass. Because I went to university with, I had not lots of money, but I had some money saved up because I never used to party or drink or anything like that. So I had some money saved up. Within a few months, I spent it all. So that was dumbass move number one. And then I didn't, I don't want to say it became addicted, like alcoholic, but every night drinking. Sometimes like I'd go out, I'd come back, and then I'd go back out, shit like that. I was skipping class just to go out and drink, party and stuff. Like partly because I liked it, and partly because I'd never done it before. So I think back then the main things that would stick out is okay, it's just typical college student behavior. Like okay, obsessed with booze, obsessed with going out, doesn't go to class, dickhead, pretty much.
Yeah. So, what do you think you learned from that time of your life when you were in university and getting drunk, partying, that you later applied to your business?
I think mainly it is I see a lot of people around who are exactly like me. I still have friends who were exactly like how I was when I first went to university. And I think the main thing is people like to hide their responsibilities or even mask them with destructive habits. So, like, I had work to do, I had class to go to and stuff like that, or coursework. And I knew that I had all that stuff to do, but I was like, nah, I'm going to go out and drink instead. So, I think the number one thing that applies to business or applies to like the new lifestyle I have is the responsibility aspect. And it's, if I don't do something now to achieve the goals I want, then I'm never going to get it. Whether that's okay, I need to show up now today and do this work to progress in the business, or overall in business, like I need to show up every single day and do the work, or I need to DM people, or I need to get on calls and stuff. And I think it's the responsibility aspect of okay, I need to do this now. There's no more dicking around. There's no more trying to mask responsibility or delay the fact that I've got real shit to do. I think it's the mindset switch from okay, yeah, let's just mask it all to okay, I need to get on with it. That really truly flipped the switch.
100%. And I feel like when you finally learn that you're fully responsible and realize that nobody else really has control over your life, it's a very liberating feeling because that means if you have full control, then you can do anything you want and achieve anything you want if you actually put the work in.
Yeah, for real. Like I remember, so I failed my first year at university, and it was completely my fault. Like it wasn't just oh, I screwed something up with the exam or whatever. I remember, so I did computer science in university, and I met all my friends there, whatever. So we were all in the same class. I remember for one of the modules we had to do, we had to program um like an app or something like that. And every time you do like a program, make a program, you'd have to go in and show the lecturer, like explain the code to him step by step. So I failed the first one because I just copied someone else's code and I had no idea how it worked. And then the second one, I copied it again. But I kind of learned what it did, so I had some sort of basis of explanation. But I just never went in to do the explanation, and it was the explanation that was required to actually pass. And I was like, "No, I'm not going in," and then I failed the entire thing. So yeah, just being a moron in that sense, to be honest, is something that I don't regret doing it because I learned from it. But at the time, I was just like, what am I doing?
Well, it's a huge learning experience, and now you know the consequences of that. And I think that's a powerful motivator as well. Just knowing that, like, if you fuck around or if you don't put in all your effort, then that's what's going to happen. Going to fail.
Yeah, like it's the same with everything. Like I like to use the gym as a big example. So if you go to the gym
Yeah.
and you're just dicking about, You know, you're just doing a bunch of whatever exercises. You have no plan, you have no routine, you've got no sort of that mindset that you want to get big or get skinny or whatever you want to do. If you've not got that mindset that you go into it and you're like, okay, I want to do this thing now. And if you've not got the determination to actually get to that goal, it's just never going to work. And it's the same in business. It's the same in every aspect of life. You need to get pissed off with yourself first, be like, okay, I've had enough of this now. Then make a plan to excel from that, and then actually show up and do it. So it's like a 3-part thing. But yeah, I always like to use her in the gym because it's the people who I see in the gym showing up constantly every single day who are the biggest people in the gym.
Yeah, you got it. So a tweet that you wrote a few weeks ago was, shit you should be learning to progress in life. Sales, nutrition, psychology, copywriting, investing, health and fitness, how to say no, high income skills, emotional control, some form of marketing, networking and communication. So, which out of those skills do you feel like you've mastered? And which skill do you feel like you're still learning right now?
I think communication is one that I don't want to be like, oh yeah, I'm a perfect person to talk to. I can talk to it, but I think it's one of the things that I've done best because for a few reasons. But number one, just because I'm a human being. Like I think a lot of people just try way too hard to be like, okay, this is how I'm going to talk to this person now. Like the way I'm talking on this podcast is the way I talk in real life. There's no difference. And that's what people should be doing. You know, just take a chill pill and just talk to the other person as if they're a normal human being. Like the number one piece of advice I give when people are doing networking or trying to communicate with other people is just talk to the other person as if they're already a friend. And when you do that, it becomes so much easier because then you're not trying to put on this big front, trying to impress people. You know, you're just talking to them as if you've known them for years. I think one that I could improve, probably marketing, just because it's a never-ending learning curve. You know, there's always constant new additions to the whole marketing thing that you can learn and that you can get better at. So I think the best thing is communication, just because I like talking, so I don't really shut the fuck up. And then the one I could always be better at is marketing.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And going back to what you're saying about people talking, like while they're networking, they're kind of they're treating it like a science and trying to find like the perfect thing to say, not talking to people like they're human beings. I I totally agree with that. And I think that's like a big problem that a lot of people seem to have is like they don't like they see people who are more successful than them as like gods and people who are so above them. And before I started this podcast, that was kind of my mindset as well. Like, if I ever spoke to someone like you or someone who had a lot of success in, let's say, business, like, I saw them as this person who was like above me and better than me. But now that I've done this podcast and talked to so many very successful people and very interesting people, I start to see everyone just as my equal. And like instead of you being a guy who's really big on Twitter, you're just a regular guy. And I think that's such a powerful mindset shift.
Yeah, it's like the whole putting people on a pedestal. Like, oh
Yeah.
my god, you know, like for you, for example, you could jump on me like, oh my god, I'm talking to Aaron. He's got 260, 270k followers. I can't fuck up. I don't give a shit, bro. You can stutter as much as you want. You can ask weird questions. I don't really give a shit. And I think that's a big misconception. Like when I answer people in the DMs, like, oh my god, you answered. And I was like, why wouldn't I answer? You know, is that a normal thing that people do? But people put other people on pedestals. My fiance does it so bad. Like she doesn't like letting people down. She's always like trying being professional when she talks to people and stuff like her boss or whatever. I'm just like, they're just a person at the end of the day. Fuck them. You know, just talk to them like normal. But I think that's the big difference between her and I is I'll just talk to people regardless of who they are. Like I'll talk to the king the same way I talk to you right now, just because he's just, you know, he's a human being. Whereas she's more like, oh my god, you know, I'll try to be pristine with it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think people who are at like a higher level and more successful probably really appreciate when someone just talks to them normally. Because so many people go up to them, really putting them on a pedestal and like get it getting, I guess, like super anxious and trying to think of the perfect thing to say. And after a while, I bet that just starts to get annoying.
Yeah, like the comments and the DMs I get that I enjoy the most and I genuinely like to reply to are the ones who just talk to me as if I'm a normal human being. You know, like, oh, bro, I love your mullet or something like that. Oh, bro, you got like Jeff Dahmer glasses or some shit like that. Because they're funny, you know? And it's the ones who are like, oh, hello, sir. You seem to have a successful person. Man, I'm just like, another one, you know?
Yeah, written in like college format.
Yeah, it's like an email.
Yeah, and I want to say something that I've noticed just like listening to your other podcasts and going through your Twitter is that you have a lot of confidence and you seem like you naturally have such a high level of belief in yourself. So, do you think this confidence and self-belief came naturally or was it something that you had to develop?
When I was a kid, it was completely different. I hated myself. I
Oh yeah.
hated the way I look. I hated my hair. I hated my teeth and shit like that. Because 50% of it because I was like, oh, I just don't like the way I look, and probably because I was a teen. And then the other 50% because people were like, oh, bro, your hair's shit and stuff like that. And I would believe them. I would take it to heart. Um, but yeah, like the tweet you said at the beginning about me going and drinking on vacation, that was kind of when my confidence started growing. I have no idea why. I know it's because I got drunk, but it kind of just flipped a switch in me when I was like, oh, I hate the way I look. To fuck, you know, I'm going to talk to everyone. I love everyone. I love myself and shit like that. But pretty much, we went on a cruise and I met some people on there, and I just turned 18 and I'd never properly drunk before my life. You know, I had a few like seltzers and shit, but we went on and they were all, you know, not heavy drinkers, but they drank before. They're like, oh, bro, do you want a Jaeger bomb and shit like that? I was like, yeah, I'm just drinking all this shit. You know, I had no idea what it was. And then I was drunk. I remember I went to the mirror in the toilet looking at myself doing my hair or some shit. And I remember just giggling to myself because I felt cool. I just went out and I started talking to people and it was amazing. And obviously because it was a 2 week cruise, I was basically just drunk every day. So I think it rubbed off. And then literally 2 weeks after that, I went to university. So drinking again, obviously. And then the confidence just kind of spurred, to be honest. But in terms of the big belief in myself, I think that occurred when I started putting effort into myself. Because even though I was very confident when I was like 18, 19, I still didn't really like the way I looked because I've never been like jacked. So I was either really skinny or I was really fat. So lockdown, I remember 2020, I just got really fat and I hated myself. But I was still doing sales calls and I still talked with confidence, but I just hated the way I looked. But then I started going to the gym and I started taking care of what I was eating. I started looking after myself. And only then did the self belief come in and like, you know, oh, I look good today, or you know, my arms are starting to look bigger. And did I truly believe in myself? And I think that spiked the confidence much more than just, you know, the booze.
If you get results in the gym, every single time you look in the mirror, you just see proof that you're a hardworking guy and you can achieve what you set your mind to. So it's like, why wouldn't you believe in yourself?
Exactly. I think this is the gym. I remember somebody said the other day, and they were like, "Oh, what would you do if you couldn't go to the gym?" And I said, "I probably would literally kill myself because the gym is such a big part of my life. Not just, you know, to look good. Obviously, that's a benefit, but it's just so deeply ingrained into me. Like the discipline that it brings, the progression. You know, going every day and then seeing yourself getting bigger or leaner, and you know, there's so many other different mental benefits that the gym brings, but." This is why I tell everyone to go to the gym. You know, just attach yourself to a fitness goal. Whether you don't even have to go to the gym, just something in fitness. But you can literally see yourself transforming from when you started to where you are now, and you can see the progress that you're making. And it's just such a good indicator to be like, okay, shit, yeah. If I show up every single day, if I put the effort in, then I'm getting better, I'm improving, and now, okay, I've learned that discipline and consistency, I can tie that to anything else. And if I apply that consistency and discipline to anything else, then I'm going to see that progress. So it's the gym is so much more than what people think. Oh, you just lift to look good. So many more benefits.
Like all of the most basic and like cliche advice is like that for a reason. And there's a reason why everybody tells you to go to the gym because it's a habit that will transfer over to every other part of your life. So, what are some of the other habits besides the gym and besides like the more basic ones like meditating or reading that have really helped you in life?
I think I'm going to go against the grain here and go against all the gurus and stuff with the
Yeah.
whole meditation routines because I don't do any of that shit. I used to. I used to try my really hardest to wake up really early and do all the cold showers and meditation. But now I think the best 1,000,000% habit I have is just doing the work, doing what needs to be done.
Mm.
A lot of people will be like, "Oh, that's not a habit." It is because if you get up and get out of bed and you're like, "Okay, just go." It is a habit because you're just getting into work, whether it's writing content, whether it's doing podcasts and stuff, whether it's getting out and going straight to the gym, working on whatever goals you have. Just drop my fucking toothpick. So I think just getting up and doing the work and just going, there's no fluff in between, no delayed procrastination or anything like that, is the best habit I have. In terms of like personal development, I don't really have any more like different habits and stuff. I go to sleep around the same time every night just because my circadian rhythm. I wake up the same time. I guess I tape my mouth and stuff when I sleep.
Yeah. I find that
Um,
helps a lot.
yeah, a lot of people find it weird. Like I posted a tweet this morning, people were just like bewildered by it. Like, what are you doing? That's good for nasal breathing. Um, but yeah, I think literally just waking up, getting what needs to be done, going to the gym, coming back, and then again working again is the only sort of habit I have. Like I've got micro habits and stuff like Pomodoro timer, my deep work routine and stuff like that. Um, I guess you could say on different days I dedicate different days to different work as far as habits go. But as far as like routines, I just wake up, do the work, and go to the gym. That's kind of what I have to do at the minute.
Yeah, it makes sense. And you feel so good about yourself after you know that you've done the work that needs to be done. Like after you've just woken up, completed your hardest task, ate the frog, as they say, you feel so good. And then I think because of that, you feel like doing even more work to have more of that good feeling.
Yeah, like I could not think of anything worse than waking up and being like, okay, I've got all this stuff to do today. Let me just scroll on TikTok all day. It bewilders me because a lot of people, they've got all these things, they've got all these big aspirations and goals, yet they'll wake up in the morning and play Xbox, and it just baffles me. Because how are you saying, okay, yeah, I want to start this new business, I want to make this money, I want to go ask this girl out, I want to go and get fit and stuff, and then you're waking up and just playing Xbox all day for like 10 hours. It's quite scary, to be honest, because it is something I used to do. I used to have all these big dreams and goals and stuff, and I'd wake up and I'd sit in bed for an hour, 2 hours, then I'd play Xbox, then I'd make food, and then by the time I'd go around to getting up and doing work, I'd be like, I'm kind of, it's late, kind of tired, I'll do it tomorrow. But yeah, I think again, going back to the habit thing, one of the best habits I have, waking up and just getting on with work. There's a method I use called the 3-2-1 method, and it's a form of procrastination dismissal, I guess you could call it. But if you've got a lot of things to do and you're like, okay, I'm procrastinating, then you just count from 3 to 1 and you get up on one and just go and do it. Like if I was in bed in the morning, I just go, okay, 3, 2, 1, and get up on one, go and do it. But yeah, like you said, bro, the whole working thing, once you start working and you're like, okay, I'm working now, it just feels good. It's like the gym. I've never left the gym sad. I've never got to the gym and come out and be like, oh, I wish I didn't go today. Because it's just the dopamine from the results you get. You just feel better.
Oh, for sure. And going back to what you're saying before about people just waking up and scrolling TikTok or playing Xbox, like the way I think about it is I imagine getting to the end of my life and then looking back on the person who I could have been if I actually put the work in and committed myself to my goals. And then, like, my biggest fear is dying knowing that I could have done so much more with my life, but I chose to pursue comfort instead of actually work hard.
Yeah, it's fucking terrifying, bro. My fiance always asks me, "Oh, what's your biggest fear?" Mine's probably like having no one to love or some shit like that. And I'm just like dying of failure, and she's like, "Whoa!" But it is like, imagine all this potential you've got as a human, physical, mental, financial, all this potential and all these things you could live up to be, and dying knowing that you've not tried anything or you've not given it your all. Like, what would you amount to be if you just put that effort in every single day? Like, if you didn't start this podcast, what would you be doing? Would you die and be like, "Oh, I really wish I start this podcast"? It's fucking crazy. Like, I just couldn't fathom being on my deathbed and being like, "Oh shit, I wish I did that." You just get no second chances.
Yeah, man, like thinking about the impact you could have made, the money you could have had, the family you could have had. But let's say I'm a kid who's 18 years old. I'm super scared to start posting. I'm scared my friends are going to see it, people's opinions, and I don't really feel like I'm an expert at anything. Like, I don't have any ideas of how I can provide value to people, but I really want to start posting. My first question is, why should I even start posting on Twitter to begin with?
I'll give you the perfect example because it was me when I first started. I didn't have any skills. I just saw a lot of people making money from like ebooks and stuff. I was like, "Oh, I need some money. I can do that." But I messaged this guy, the first ever person I talked to, and I was like, "Bro, what do I post?" And he was just like, "Post anything." I was like, "Okay." So I'll tell you what I did, and then I'll tell you what I should have done. So I started by just tweeting literally anything, like just tweeting my own opinions. There was no value content. I think my first one was my first ever tweet was like, "Fuck what people think," and that was it. And I look back and I'm just like, yeah, okay. Um, but in terms of what I would do differently is you want to outline some sort of plan. So first thing I recommend everyone do is either learn or hone in on some sort of skill. So whether and make it a high income skill or something like that. So whether it's web design, copywriting, email marketing, whatever, just pick a skill. And I wouldn't necessarily say to not pick a high income skill, but I would favor a high income skill because that's something then you can sell and is normally required by people to progress. So learn a high income skill. Second thing then you want to do is you want to find target audience. So simple as picking someone who just needs your help. So if you do web design, okay, I'm going to make websites. Who can I help? Okay, what about fitness guys who want to book more leads? What about agencies who want to convert more? Just picking anyone you can help. Third thing in is crafting an offer. So a simple offer. I help X do Y with Z. So I help fitness owners book more calls using high converting landing pages. Something similar like that. It doesn't have to be perfect because you just started. Okay, so once you've done that, you want to pick your target audience's problem. You want to take their goals and then you want to find their problems. So let's say, well, I'll use the fitness example throughout. So fitness coaches, what are their goals? They want to help more people get fit. They want to close more clients. They want to promote their fitness content, stuff like that. And then you want to find the problems that they're having that relate to those goals. So let's say they want to book more calls, for example. Problem, they can't book calls. Why is that? Because their content isn't up to scratch. Because their website is shit. And you want to basically write down all these goals, write 3 to 5 problems associated with every single goal. And then that becomes the basis for all your value content. And I get this question so much. How do you come up with so many content ideas? What's the secret behind it? And it is literally so simple in terms of value content. All my value content comes from problems that my target audience has. So it's literally just solutions to my target audience. So I'll go through, okay, my target audience is fitness coaches. What are they trying to do? They're trying to close more deals. Why can't they do it? Their content sucks. Okay, cool. I'm going to write a tweet about how fitness coaches can improve their content or how anyone can improve their content to book more calls. And you just go through and you just pick problems and then you use solutions from yourself as the basis for the tweet. That's value content. Now, in terms of personal content, it's much more simple. It's just personal opinions, it's stories, it's your thoughts throughout the day. Maybe it's a gym picture or something like that. So I'd recommend splitting that content ratio 50-50. So 50% is going to be target audience with the value stuff, and then the other 50 is going to be personal content. So what you think, what you believe. Like I'll switch it up quite commonly. So 1 minute I'll talk about sales funnels, and then the next, like yesterday, I talked about sales funnels and landing pages. My next tweet was me in a sauna. So it's always switching up, and you want to do this because a lot of people will kind of bore their audience. You never want them to be like, oh god, another tweet about this. You want them to be like, oh, I have no idea what he's going to post next. Is it going to be a gym picture? Is it going to be a full 10K per month blueprint or something like that? Because you want to keep them on their toes. You never want to become, what's the word? Predictable. Never want to become predictable. So in terms of how I would start again, that's exactly what I would do. So I would learn a skill, pick an audience, craft an offer, find their problems, and then start writing a shit ton of content. And then you just go nuts with the comments. I could go on and on about comments for hours, but to keep it short, just reply with the first thing that comes to your mind and do it because you want to do it, not because I'm telling you to. And that's exactly what I would do. That's the advice I always give.
Okay, about the comments, what do you think are some of the biggest mistakes that you see people on Twitter make?
Oh, we could sit here for hours. So I'll go through the top. So the first one is going to be just replying for the sake of it. Like a lot of people, I blame the fucking growth gurus and their courses because they're always like, oh, if you want to grow, then you need to write comments. You need to add value. I hate the term add value now because it just means nothing. So a lot of these people will try and add value. And by adding value, what it used to mean was try and add something extra to the tweet. Try and so if someone says here are 5 tips to make a landing page pop, you'd add an extra tip or something like that. What people do now is they just reword the original tweet. They just say shit like agreed or something like that. But they do it because they feel like they have to, and they've been told that if you leave these type of comments, you'll grow. So they spend their time scrolling through and they reply to every single person on the timeline. But it won't be genuine, authentic comments. It'll just be shit like, oh, agreed and yes and stuff like that. That's the number one thing that just I hate. So the way around that is you want to just go through, you want to follow people first whose content you genuinely enjoy. Because if you follow people whose content you genuinely enjoy, you're more likely, to comment on that thing because you enjoy what they're saying. Whereas if you're just following a bunch of people whose content you hate, like, oh fuck, I don't want to reply to this, but I have to. So follow people whose content you enjoy. And then every single time you see a tweet on the timeline, when you form your opinion after you read that tweet, you just reply with that opinion. If you've got nothing to say, or you're like, yeah, that was cool, don't say anything. But for the love of God, don't just read a tweet and then be like, okay, I have to comment. And then reword that original tweet and say the exact same shit because people can tell what people are doing. I used to do it. That's the first one. Second one is it's more or less the same thing, but using AI to respond. Oh, bro,
People do that.
yeah, it's actually sad. People will paste in the tweet into ChatGPT and say, come up with a response for this piece of content. And it'll do it and they'll just use it. Like I've had people, where you respond or ChatGPT responds and it's got the quotation marks, people will leave the quotation marks in, people will leave the hashtags in. It's just actually quite sad. But I think if you're asking a robot to reply and help you build up your personal brand, then you probably should be building a personal brand or be talking to people because that's just fucking strange. What else? I think spamming comments as well and spamming comments meaning, just going through and replying to every single person because you feel you have to. That kind of basically is the first point. But not being themselves. So trying to be someone they're not. Whether it's trying to be another creator or trying to be like another creator or just trying to be too professional with it, like LinkedIn. So what a lot of people will do is they'll read a tweet, forget that they're actually on Twitter or X and think they're on LinkedIn or think it's professional, like proper business, and then go off on a tangent and start saying like "sir" and shit like that and writing like an email. Like I think the main attribution I give to growing so fast when I first started X was just being a moron in the comments. Like, I was a complete dick in the not like a dick, like having to go at everyone, but a dick. You're just an idiot in the comments. Use humor, personality. Again, there was no masking. It was just how I was in the comments is how I was in real life. I think if more people replied because they wanted to, use their personality, and just stop using AI, then comments would be so much easier and better, and you would actually get genuine results from it.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people forget that the point of leaving a comment is to have people click on your account. And to do that, like you gotta say something valuable or something insightful. Like no one's gonna read through a comment section with 50 comments and click on the person who just said agreed.
Yeah, I I always tell people, bro, it's actually quite sad because a lot of my value content is teaching people how to leave comments, and within that content is people who just don't know how to leave comments like, oh yes, or agreed, or facts. Like, what the fuck am I meant to respond to that? I just have to like it and shit like that. But yeah, people are getting better, but then you do get the odd person. I do feel sorry for some people because obviously like English isn't their first language, so they're still trying to get used to it. So that's fine. But if your first language is English, you know how to speak English, and you're replying with shit like agreed or some stupid shit like that, then you just deserve to get smacked.
Yeah, exactly. So you were talking about how like it's important to be authentic and show your actual personality when you're creating content. But I feel like even though that is really important, a lot of people when they're first starting out, they naturally try and be somebody else or just act in some inauthentic way without even noticing it. So, how do you think new creators can break out of that cycle of trying to be someone else?
Yeah, it's kind of like, so it's not something you have to do, but it's something that you need to go through to be like, oh shit, yeah, I need to find my own voice. Because the number one piece of advice that I give in terms of like personality and authenticity is you just be yourself. But in order to be yourself, you've got to find out who you not are, who you aren't first. So, and you've got to do that through not copying, but trying different styles and stuff that's not your own to be like, okay, so this is my unique style. Like what I did was I would read a bunch of people's tweets and I'd be like, oh yeah, this performs very well, like the format, the structure, the language, and then I would write it like that person. But I would put my own spin on it as well, just like the language and stuff. And it got to a point where I was like, oh yeah, I can just tweet how I talk in real life now. And I found my writing style and I found my voice and my language tone, and it worked out. But I think it's something that you need to learn through screwing up and doing to avoid actually doing it. But in terms of learning how to be authentic or being personal, you're not trying to be someone else pretty much. When you first start, it's different because you need to learn how to write and stuff. But if you're knee deep in your personal brand journey and you're still copying Danco or you're still copying me or Dakota, etc., then you need to take a step back and be like, okay, I'm copying this. All these things I'm writing isn't necessarily how I talk or think in real life. So I need to flip the script. I need to start writing content how I talk in real life, like that little voice in your head. Use that to write. Like when I'm writing emails every morning, everything that gets written down is everything that little voice says in my head. Exactly how I talk in real life, exactly how I am in real life. I think once you get past that sugarcoating thing and you just literally write as you talk in real life, like exactly how I talk to you right now is exactly how I'd write an email. Once you get to that stage, then you learn, okay, so this is my voice, this is my language, and you learn how to be personal because the genuineness comes through. But yeah, it's kind of a thing that you need to go through. You need to kind of suck at it first to get better with it, literally. But it'll come. It does come.
I remember you wrote a tweet a couple weeks ago that I forget exactly how it was worded, but it was like someone asked you why are you so good at writing? And then you just posted a screenshot of 100 and something thousand tweets.
Yeah. A lot of people ask me like, "Oh, bro, how'd you be a better writer?" And I think I actually don't even know how many times I tweeted. Let me look. I've tweeted 146,000 times, which is fucking stupid. But it's the same as anything. Like, how do you get better at sales? This is the worst one that people ask me for. Oh, bro, how do I get better at selling? Fucking go and sell something, try and sell something. You can't learn how to sell through a course or a book or whatever. People can teach you what not to do, but you'll never. It's, again, because sales is much more tailored to you than it is any other skill. Because again, it's all about finding what works for you. It's all about using your personality and being authentic and using your own tone. So it's the same thing with writing. If you want to be a better writer, yeah, cool. You can study courses and you can watch videos, but ultimately, if you want to be a better writer, you just need to write. You need to suck at writing. You need to write a lot, and then you need to just get better on your own terms. Same with anything. Same with the gym. There's only so many gym videos you can watch, but unless you go out and put that movement into practice, you're never going to understand. Okay, so this is how it feels. This is what works for me, etc. So, yeah, when people say write or how do I be a better writer, I just say write, and they're like, oh, but how do you do that? I'm just like, oh, fucking hell.
Yeah, going back to the sales example you used, I find for me, when I first started doing sales, I I didn't take any course, read any books. I just went out there and started selling. Even though I sucked at it, it really helped me develop like the mindset, not being afraid of rejection, the social skills, having better tonality, making better eye contact, all that stuff. And I feel like all those things, like in sales, the whole mindset and the social skills, those come before actually learning how to sell. And that's the same with the gym. Like, you got to get in the gym, learn to be consistent, learn like what a good routine looks like, and then try and optimize all of the nitty gritty stuff. But if you start off by trying to learn every single thing about sales or every single thing about the gym, it's going to be much harder.
Yeah, you'll never truly learn something unless you put it into practice. Like if you're watching sales videos, for example, okay, this is how you sell, and they break it down step by step. And then you go into a sales call and you just fucking freeze because, oh my God, all this stuff I've learned, how do I actually apply it? You need to go through, screw up a ton of sales calls, never sell anything. And then every single sales call, you take something from me, like, okay, this worked, this didn't work. I'm not going to do this next time, but I'm going to try this next time. And then when you go back to actually learning, then you can relate to these learning videos because you're like, yeah, I already do that. Oh, that's something I could try next time. Whereas if you're just watching video upon video, reading course upon course, you're taking all this stuff, you're never going to actually know what works because, like, most of the advice out there, like gym advice, for example, there's so many TikTok videos about how to grow your chest, but a lot of them don't apply to me. Only a few certain things do. But the ones that don't apply to me will apply to other people. It's because you've gone out and you've tried these different things, and then you've come to a conclusion, okay, this works for me, I'm going to use this. That's going to be my tools. It's the same with selling, it's the same with writing. Okay, how you write is going to be different from how I write. So there's no point in trying to copy you because it's not going to work for me. But I'll never fucking know that because I've never actually tried to write. So yeah, it's literally everything. It's like trying to learn a new language. Like I remember, because I can speak Welsh, and this guy I was speaking to in Wales, he's like, "Oh, bro, so how did you learn Welsh?" I was taught it in school, but they taught us how to learn Welsh in school by talking to each other in Welsh. It wasn't just, this is what dog means, or this is what car means, and something like that. So yeah, whatever it is, just go fucking do it.
What limiting beliefs or misconceptions do you think you had at the start of your Twitter journey that held you back?
I think I thought it was too good to be true
Oh, yeah.
because you see everyone and they're making thousands of dollars a day just selling ebook. And no, they're not even selling. They're just doing one tweet, promoting it, and they're just making the money in. And I was just like, that, come on now. If people are struggling to make money and stuff, and this thing exists, why are they not doing that? So surely it's got to be too good to be true. But down the line, and now I know that because they were only able to make that money and just send one promo tweet and make money from it because of the years it spends or the years they spent to build up that personal brand. And a lot of people are like, oh, bro, how do I, in my DMs, how do I build and make money from a personal brand fast? And it's always fast. They always try and do things fast. I'm just like, bro, you, first of all, forget about doing it fast. Because I've been on X now for nearly 5 years. And only around a year to 2 years ago did I really start seeing proper success. And you're like, oh, yeah, bro, but it took you months to do that. How do I do it now? And my answer is always the same. It's you do it now by putting the fucking work in, by rolling that boulder, and then when eventually it gets to a time in the future where the boulder is now rolling on its own, you don't need to do anything. But you still, I always use this anecdote, I guess, and it's always about a snowball. So at the start, if you want to make a snowball and you want to roll the snowball, you've got to collect the snow. You've got to do all that manually, and then you push it across the floor. And as you keep pushing and pushing it, all the snow keeps adding on, but you're still manually pushing it. But there's going to get a time where you push it and it begins to roll on its own. And then as it rolls on its own, the snow is still going to stick to it. But combine the momentum that it's got with you continuously pushing it, and you're going to get so much more snow on the snowball than if you just let it go itself. But it's the same thing applies. The whole limiting belief thing that I had, like, oh yeah, it's too good to be true, was because I was like, oh, how the fuck do I make this money like tomorrow? How do I sell an ebook now? And I remember I released an ebook, but the first one sucked, so we'll talk about the second one. The second ebook, I think, made me 5K, but it was like 5-6 months after I already built up my following. Oh yeah, I think it's the whole instant gratification thing that people screw up, and screwed me up for a long time.
A mental framework that I use when trying to decide which business or like endeavor I want to pursue is I ask myself, am I willing to stick with this for the next 5 to 10 years? And it's not like I'm trying to force myself into sticking with it for that long, but it's like I ask myself that question to see if I am actually committed. Because if I'm not willing to stick with it for a while and committed to the goal, then it's probably just something that I'm doing like for short term money and short term success, which never ends well.
Yeah, that's a piece of advice that I like to give is play the long term, especially when people say, oh, bro, I want to build up my personal brand. What's the advice? And the first thing I would say, like, forget about consistency, forget about discipline. It's always play the long game. Because even though you collect no results at the start, you're still getting those hidden results sort of thing. So the followers are
Yeah.
slowly going up. People will see like, oh, bro, I'm just getting like 1 or 2 followers a day. It's still better than what you were doing before you started. But always play the long term game. Again, I always feel like I just use the gym as an example, but the gym, you're not going to get abs within the first day. You're not going to be ripped the first day. It's going to take months upon months. Like all these, like Sebum, Ramon Dinos, they're in the Olympia, yeah, but they've been training for like 10, 15 years. And people just can't fucking comprehend, like, oh, bro, I'm not putting that in like 15 years. I'm not doing that. But you've got to sit yourself down and be real with yourself and be like, okay, I need this. I really want this. I'm going to commit and stick to it regardless of the drawbacks, of the time it takes, of all the sleepless nights. I'm just going to stick to it. Like that's the one thing I refused to give up on was X. And it's funny because X is my most successful sort of endeavor out of everything I've done.
Well, I feel like success in the short term, yeah, it is too good to be true. And yeah, it probably is impossible. But then if you expand your time frame, 10 years, then it's completely different. It's almost, I don't want to say guaranteed, but it goes from like a 10% chance to an 80 or 90% chance.
Yeah, it's like the saying, if it's too good to be true, then it's too good to be true. If everyone is doing this thing and getting results from it, then it's going to work. But what people don't see is all the time and effort and sacrifices they've made to put into this whatever they're doing to get these results. It's always the thing, like they see all the money being made, they see all the nice cars, they see the followers and the status, but they don't see the sleepless nights, they don't see the long hours, the frustration that goes into it. I think the trouble is everybody wants the end goal right now, and they refuse to put in the effort that is required to get that end goal, and especially like time is the biggest one. Like, oh yeah, bro, how long is it going to take me to make 10K a month? Like, I've had so many stupid DMs, and they're just DMs like, bro, how do I make like 100K fast? Like, what the fuck, bro? Like, it took me years to make 100K, first of all. And you want to make it in like 7 days. Like, go rob a bank or something, or go steal it from someone. That's the best advice I can give you. But yeah, everybody wants things now. And if they don't get it now, and you explain to them, oh, it's going to take a long time. Oh, that's a scam, or it's not worth it. And then they just go back and do their normal life things.
Yeah, and in the grand scheme of things, it really isn't a long time because there's people who go to college for 5 years and then like work 40, 50 years just to retire.
Yeah.
So,
People go to
yeah,
college for like 4 or 5 years, bro. But one dedicate 90 days to learning a skill and building an audience or something, or trying to make money themselves. It's fucking crazy. It's just because I think a lot of people get the fear, like, oh, I've got to do this myself now. There's nobody there telling me what to do. That's why job security is such like a big benefit to a lot of people, because you get told what to do. If something goes wrong, it's going to get fixed eventually, even if it's not by you. And at the end of the day, you still get paid regardless. Whereas with business, is much more bigger risk. You've got to pull the strings. You've got to make your own money. And if you don't do something, it's fucking on you. So that's why I think business, entrepreneurship is not for a lot of people. But people always go down the safer route where they get told what to do, and this, that security. That is the biggest sort of benefit to them.
for sure. So, the last question that I ask each one of my guests is, what do you want to do before you die?
I just want to get jacked, bro.
Oh yeah, Jack. Love it.
No, I want everyone to at least grow a mullet once and experience the powers that the mullet holds. I want everyone to get as jacked as possible. I want everyone to make as much money as possible. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. And yeah, I just want to, in terms of business, of course, I want to get rich as fuck, bro. Everyone does. In terms of physique, I would like to compete one day in terms of physique. That's something that I really want to do. And everyone at my gym says, "Oh, bro, compete, compete," and it's something I do want to
Bro,
do
you can do it
eventually.
now.
Yeah, I know that's what a lot of people have been saying. I don't see her yet. Like, I'm looking at them, I'm like, nah, there's no way I'm like stage ready yet. Keeping away from all the clouds. So what I mean is, all like the woke stuff or whatever, and all the things that get that blindfold a lot of people, is keeping on top of that and being like actually seeing what's happening in the world and shit like that, and not being blindfolded pretty much. So I think, yeah, mental, physical, and financial, get big as fuck and compete, get rich as fuck, and meant what all like the wokeness and stuff. People, the,
Yeah.
whoever it is, the elites, I guess, pulling blindfolds over people, and people like have no idea what to think. I always wanted to stay on top of that, and actually understand what's happening in the world and shit like that. It's more of like a mental thing for me, but not having the wall pulled over my eyes and being like, okay, this is what's going on. Not be, I guess the best way to put it is not being the hamster in the wheel and being able to get off the conveyor belt of life, sort of thing. That's much more philosophical than just getting jacked or getting rich as well.
It makes sense. I guess being woke, but in like a good way. Like being woke now to the
Yeah,
stuff that's actually going on in the world.
yeah.
I really appreciate you coming on the podcast. Great conversation. So if you want to find Aaron, I'm going to link his Twitter down below as well as his funnel business if you have any kind of info product and you need a funnel built for you. Oh yeah, who is your target customer? Is it like anybody with an info product or someone more specific?
Yeah, it's just anyone with a personal brand. So if you've got a personal brand, if you've got a newsletter, if you've got a product or service, just hit me up.
Hell yeah. Appreciate you being on. And if you want to check him out, links are in the description.